Kendrick Lamar just set the Super Bowl stage on fire during his halftime show.
In the week since his tragic death, a number of Lil Jeff's colleagues have disclosed some disturbing truths about his life, which could alter public opinion and the makeup of Chicago's gang allegiance. It never occurred to Lil Jeff that he would be slain in a high-stakes gunfight when he was chasing down a rival gang member on the streets. The firefight was obviously under his control, but he was unaware that a wild card was on the table. Views of the young musician are also influenced by the number of bodies that Lil Jeff dropped over his lifetime. Since Lil Jeff died during a drill, information about his lifestyle has been making the rounds on social media, but the most startling allegation we have heard so far is that he killed more people. 11 people were supposedly killed by the adolescent rapper, which suggests that he committed more than 11 crimes, murders before they were discovered by a rival gang member. A source close to Lil Jeff and his group claims that these songs made them think of the killings of two other Chicago rappers, for which Lil Jeff took credit just months before his own. However, specifics have not yet been released. The allegations that Lil Jeff was behind the murders of Monty and Lil Rob drastically altered his life and solidified his reputation on the shooting killings of Monty and Lil Rob, who were both members of different gangs, fit the description of a targeted attack. Because these killings were so horrifying, the media and law enforcement took notice, and Lil Jeff became well known for these killings very fast. Many cited his Lil Jeff apparently alluded to these killings by incorporating details about the killings into his rhymes in the song Ah, which was used in music videos and lyrics that might have acknowledged his role. Because of how realistically he portrayed his exploits, many people thought he was not just involved, but also bragging about them in his songs. The fact that he and his gang members were captured on camera wearing the same attire and using a vehicle connected to the crime scene provided more evidence for this theory, making it difficult to distinguish between creative expression and actual events. Lil Jeff's already infamous infamy was further tarnished by the charges, even though months after the killings, despite growing evidence and public conjecture, someone else was arrested. Another possible cause of Lil Jeff's death was a series of incidents that started after he took credit for the murders. Lil Jeff's premature death was a result of the intensity and volatility that had come to define his life on that fateful day, when rival gang tensions reached a boiling point, setting the stage for a violent confrontation that would finally result in his death. It started with Lil Jeff and a member of an opposing gang having a chance encounter, which quickly turned into a furious confrontation and a high-stakes chase through the streets of Chicago. As they hurried across the city, armed and determined, they started a fire, putting innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire as well as themselves in danger. An important turning point in the pursuit occurred when the opposition gang member, desperate to get away, fled to his house. Lil Jeff continued to pursue relentlessly, unaware of the deadly trap that awaited him. Another person emerged as he was getting closer to the house. Things quickly became out of control, even though they were prepared and armed to defend their territory. Lil Jeff was shot in the chest during the pandemonium, and there was gunfire again. The gunshot was fatal, and he passed out instantly, taking his life. Following his death, a number of events had a significant impact on the larger community, as well as Lil Jeff's rival gang factions. Even while a challenging chapter came to an end with his passing, it also resulted in the death of Lil Jeff, a well-known individual who was both feared and revered, upset many of his fellow gang members. Their need for vengeance was heightened by his death, which became a rallying cry that kept them caught in the vicious cycle. The gang vowed to exact revenge on their killer. The gang scene's long-standing disputes were reflected in their answers, co-worker adding to the already tense street atmosphere. Nonetheless, other gangs saw Lil Jeff's death as a win and a warning. Some viewed it as a chance to strengthen their position of power, while others feared further violence and wanted to strengthen their defenses against the anticipated response. The general reaction of the Chicago community to those most impacted was a mixture of dread, frustration, and resignation. The deeply ingrained violence persisted even after law enforcement stepped up patrols and opened investigations in an attempt to curb gang activity following the death of Lil Jeff. Many called for peace and an end to the continuous gang wars that killed youth, but others questioned whether any lasting reforms would take place. It was obvious that policing by itself would not offer a long-term solution given the nature of the conflicts. Another important area of law enforcement investigation was the songs and videos of Lil Jeff looking for any signs of criminal activity. Investigators began focusing on his lyrics, which frequently included in-depth descriptions of street life in an effort to connect his artistic creations with actual events. Authorities looked into the symbolism and imagery used by Lil Jeff and his buddies in music videos and real-life crime videos in an attempt to uncover clues. Investigators learned vital information from these videos concerning his gang's affiliations and activities, such as the locations, gang signs, and the existence of weaponry. This examination also included monitoring social media posts and interactions for indications of gang-related conduct and communications. The legal consequences of using music and films as evidence provoked discussions about the limits of artistic freedom and self-expression. Some claimed that the words and images were only imaginative storytelling, while others said they might be confessions or violent incitements. The difficulty for law enforcement in striking a balance between the need for evidence and the value of artistic expression was brought to light by this dispute. Social media is crucial for influencing opinions and behavior in the current digital era, especially among youth. Social media sites like Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube have developed into effective means for people like Lil Jeff to express themselves and market themselves. However, they have also been used to promote the gang lifestyle, which has greatly influenced young audiences who are susceptible to being influenced. In videos and posts, he carefully crafted a persona that highlighted his gang involvement. He promoted a life of celebrity, authority, and excitement, frequently showcasing his songs, gang affiliations, and fights with rivals. Many young people found the glamour and status that come with being a member of a gang to be alluring, and the allure of this lifestyle typically overshadowed the unpleasant reality of gang attendance. Celebrities like Lil Jeff, whose bold online persona served as a model for people looking for attention and a way out of their situation, were imitated. But social media's proliferation of gang culture also played a role in the persistence of violence and rivalry, as online disputes between rival gang members frequently turned into in-person altercations, with platforms acting as virtual battlegrounds. For the drill that killed Lil Jeff happened when he was only 21 years old. How could a young man with such energy get involved in violence and illegal activity? The Gangster Disciple Nation and Cheer Lil Jeff prior to his death. Lil Jeff was a member of the Gangster Disciple Nation. The Gangster Disciples were established in the late 1950s by two powerful men, Larry Hoover Sr. and David Barksdale, who wanted to control and exert influence over Chicago's growing gang scene. As they gained notoriety, the Gangster Disciples' characteristic blue, black, gray, and white colors came to represent who they were. Despite the poverty, segregation, and lack of opportunities, Gangster Disciple Nation members felt safe and accepted. In the neighborhood, the gang grew and became a major force in the city's illegal activities, such as drug trafficking, extortion, and violent crime over time. By establishing a network of affiliates across the United States, the Gangster Disciple Nation expanded its influence outside of Chicago and solidified its position as one of the most powerful and well-organized gangs in the nation. Despite multiple efforts by law enforcement to dismantle the gang, it remains well established in Chicago's neighborhoods, contributing to the city's ongoing gang-related problems. To understand the situation Lil Jeff found himself in, it is essential to understand the history of the Gangster Disciple Nation, as he navigated the perilous waters of gang life in Chicago. A city known as Chero and famed for its high crime rates, the gang's violent and powerful past supported his engagement and eventual breakdown. Lil Jeff grew up in a neighborhood where gang culture was prevalent, exposing him to the harsh realities of living in a violent and economically devastated community. As the nation evolves, his journey into this dangerous way of life reveals a horrifying story of respect, power, and the ultimate cost of gang loyalty. As a youth, Lil Jeff was drawn to the Gangster Disciple Nation because it provided him with authority, respect, and a way out of poverty. Given the gang's widespread influence in his neighborhood and the fact that many of his pals were already members, Lil Jeff did not view joining the Gangster Disciple Nation as a choice, but rather as a means to a goal. While Rez's family was struggling financially, the streets offered him a sense of opportunity and belonging that was difficult for him to maintain. The gang bosses wanted Lil Jeff to succeed and be accepted into the group because they were instantly captivated by his charisma and perseverance. His involvement in a variety of gang-related activities, ranging from small transgressions to more serious ones, deepened his connections with the Gangster Disciple Nation. In the fight for survival, the gang gave him a sense of identity and purpose, which helped to bridge the gap left by a lack of opportunities and respectable role models. They adopted the role of family and provided him with a level of acceptance and protection that he had never known before. Despite the risks of gang life, Lil Jeff was intent on becoming a famous figure in the gangster disciple nation and enthusiastically embraced his new identity. He used drill music, which reflected his love of the thug life with its rough lyrics and vicious noises. Being a part of the gangster disciple nation gave him a way to vent his feelings and frustrations. Drill music gave Lil Jeff a platform to express himself and elevate his status within the gang. His song immediately gained popularity among his peers and on social networking sites, where drill musicians frequently share their songs. The music of Lil Jeff was honest and direct, describing that the distinction between art and reality was muddled because his lyrics frequently made references to the brutality and hardships he encountered on a daily basis. He became well known in the drill community and had a devoted following as a result of his genuineness, which struck a chord with the audience. Along with documenting his personal life, Lil Jeff's music also brought attention to the bigger problems plaguing his community. His notoriety increased his impact. Drill music gave Lil Jeff a stage on which to share his narrative, but it also drew him deeper into the perilous realm of gang culture. Gang rivalry in Chicago is known for its violence and intensity, and for Lil Jeff, these conflicts were an unavoidable aspect of being a gangster. Since Lil Jeff grew up in a culture where loyalty was essential and disagreements might mean the difference between life and death, his songs frequently reflected the ongoing tensions between the gangster disciple nation and competing gangs. He used his song, which detailed the conflicts as both a public declaration of his steadfast commitment and a private notebook. That was the character of his surroundings. Lil Jeff's life was greatly affected by these rivalries. He was always on guard, knowing that his remarks may have serious consequences. Regretfully, his passing and the murders of other young people of color in Chicago have not deterred him from taking actions that will uphold his standing in the gangster disciple nation and preserve his image. A number of community programs and interventions have been established in response to Chicago's widespread problem with gang violence, with the goal of assisting at-risk youth and offering them alternatives to joining gangs. By tackling the underlying causes of violence, these programs seek to provide young people the tools and opportunities they need to create a better future. Hundreds of young men in Chicago join gangs each year, and it's likely that this trend will continue. The development of mentorship programs that pair at-risk children with positive role models is one initiative. Providing guidance, building trust, and helping people overcome obstacles in life are the top priorities of these programs. By creating networks of support, they also encourage young people to seek educational and career opportunities. By fostering a spirit of hope and opportunity, these initiatives seek to steer young people away from the allure of gang life. In addition, educational initiatives are essential to reducing gang violence. Organizations provide tutoring, after-school programs, and scholarships to help students thrive academically in an effort to increase access to high-quality education. Adolescents who are at risk can also benefit from job training and employment. Programs which provide vocational training and help with job placement. These programs aim to provide young people with the skills they need. Youth are protected by community centers and safe spaces, which provide a safe environment where they can participate in constructive activities and form enduring relationships. Regular seminars and activities that foster personal development are held at these facilities. Gainful employment not only offers financial security, but also fosters a sense of purpose and self-worth, which reduces the likelihood of gang involvement. Community, organizations, and local leaders are essential in stopping gang violence. Together, these stakeholders can create comprehensive programs that put intervention, prevention, and rehabilitation first, enhancing the safety and positive atmosphere for young people in Chicago. Much more work needs to be done, though, to assist teenagers who are at risk in altering their perspective. Gang life has negative psychological effects that impact people's general and mental health, such as Lil Jeff. A highly stressful atmosphere that has a detrimental impact on gang members' mental health is created by their constant dread of danger, pressure to follow the gang's rules, and regular exposure to violence. Stress and anxiety can be internalized as a result of the urge to repress feelings and present a tough exterior. Seeking assistance is challenging in some communities due to stigmatized mental health disorders and limited access to mental health care, which results in a pervasive sense of trauma that frequently remains untreated. Contributing elements include fear of violence and losing loved ones to gang-related incidents. Early trauma exposure can have a long-lasting effect on a child's development and mental health, which makes kids in areas where gangs are prevalent especially at risk. The normalization of violence and the cycle of retaliation also contribute to a culture of fear and mistrust, which affects the mental health of people living in gang-affected areas. The Chicago rapper Lil Jeff is not the first one who has died as a result of growing up in such an atmosphere. Recently, Lil Jeff's affiliates King Von, FBG Duck, and Lil Jojo passed away suddenly, revealing a terrible story that combines music and street life. These young artists, gifted and full of potential, met a tragic end. King Von was renowned for his captivating storytelling and unadulterated pure music. He was born Devin Bennett. Lyrics King Von's journey started on the stormy streets of Chicago, where he was born on August 9th, 1994, and raised in the Parkway Gardens housing project's A-block area. Like the violent novels he frequently penned, his life was brutally cut short, and his followers and loved ones were left in despair after his death on November 6th, 2020, in Atlanta, Georgia. He had a lot of potential. With hits like Crazy Story, Collie V gained rapid fame after being discovered by Fellowship Chicago singer Lil Durk, who signed him to his record label. The O King Von was the next to take him. These events had a big influence on his music, which resonated with a lot of individuals from similar situations. He is notable for his ability to tell gripping tales of life in the south side of Chicago, a community notorious for its dreams and perils. Millions of people watched his music videos. He developed a devoted fan base, and his captivating charm enthralled viewers. Despite his prosperous career, King Von was constantly under danger of violence, which would ultimately result in his murder on that fateful night in November 2020 when he got into a violent altercation outside the Monaco nightclub. The lounge in Atlanta.
Hip-hop. Kendrick Lamar's last 12 months have sparked a new creative renaissance, bringing competition back into the genre like never before.
According to security footage, the altercation between two groups escalated into a shooting, which killed King Vo and two other people. The footage showed the chaos and mayhem that erupted in the moments leading up to the shooting. The word quickly circulated after his death, shocking fans and other musicians. Death odes poured in from all corners of the music industry. Artists like Lil Durk and Chance the Rapper paid tribute to V's skill and shared their sorrow. He continued to engage his audience with his songs, which demonstrated his storytelling skills and the genuineness that so many people found appealing. Irrational Violence is the most recent act since joining a gang, but regrettably, it wasn't the first time either, because of his unique voice, his lyrics, and his willingness to take on street politics head-on. The horrific story of FBG Duck's death has been well known. In a violent incident that stunned the city and the music business as a whole, a well-known character, FBG Duck, was killed. Born on December 6, 1993, FBG Duck grew up in the south side of Chicago, a neighborhood often associated with gang activity and high crime rates. Duck was exposed to the difficulties and risks that come with growing up in such an environment, and these experiences greatly influenced his music, which frequently portrayed the brutal realities of street life. His ability to convey these experiences led to him gaining a devoted following and a well-known name in the drill music community. Duck's success was mostly due to his hit song Slide, which became an anthem for many people and demonstrated his literary ability and unadulterated brilliance, and he soon established himself as a voice for people who felt ignored and alienated despite his developing voice. Even though Fame Duck would ultimately perish as a result of the very violence he used his music to confront and escape, he stayed firmly rooted in his roots and frequently used his position to speak out against violence and promote peace in his community. FBG, 4th of July 2020. Duck and two others were injured in a brazen and horrific attack that took place during the day on Oak Street, a popular retail area in the affluent Gold Coast neighborhood of Chicago, and they were taken immediately to the hospital. Due to his injuries, Duck passed away, leaving his friends, family, and admirers in mourning. Duck's passing was not just a loss for the music industry, but also a devastating blow to his community, which had looked to him as a symbol of hope and growth. Tributes from fans and artists flooded in after his passing, with many taking to social media to share their grief over the passing of a significant and gifted person, pay respect to Duck's legacy, and acknowledge their loss by emphasizing his influence on the drill scene and the larger music community. As terrible as Lil Jojo's death was, he was killed while he was only a teenager. Joseph Coleman, the father of Lil Jojo, had one of the most horrific and early deaths in Chicago history. The situation between drill and music. His premature demise at the age of 18 highlighted the tumultuous blending of gang fights and music street life that has come to define the genre. Born on April 6, 1994, Lil Jojo grew up in Chicago's violent and impoverished Englewood neighborhood. Despite his difficulties, Jojo gained confidence and communication skills. He became a prospective rapper through his tracks, and his unrefined, raw approach connected with many people who had gone through similar experiences. His songs frequently reflected his people's sufferings and aspirations by addressing the reality of street life. Jojo's fearless handling of gang disputes was a key factor in his ascent to fame. Following the rapid viral success of his song BDK, 3HK, which targeted rival rapper Chief Keef and the Black Disciples gang, Jojo gained notoriety and hostilities between rival gangs escalated. Although his audacity won him a devoted fan base, it also made him a target, and Lil Jojo was tragically shot and killed in a drive-by shooting on September 4th, 2012, while riding his bicycle in the Englewood neighborhood. The incident occurred during a rivalry between his group and another gang. A trash rap that threatened to exact revenge for his murder was also recorded. At the same time as this tragedy, Chicago was plagued by ongoing gang wars. Violence is increasing. Jojo's passing was a loss for his family and fans, but it also served as a sobering reminder of the perils young singers confront while negotiating the perilous seas of fame and street life. The untimely deaths of Lil Jeff King, FBG Duck, and Lil Jojo have significantly impacted the Chicago drill music scene, emphasizing the intricate connections between street life, music, and violence. These young musicians were more than simply musicians. They were storytellers who gave their communities a voice. They each had a distinct voice and viewpoint. Due to their tragic death, the drill scene has been significantly impacted, leading to a reassessment of the culture and the pressing need for reform in the drill scene's musicians have been calling for reform since these incidents. Community leaders and activists calling for a change in the narrative say that musicians should utilize their platforms to promote peace and constructive change. There are musicians who have decided to utilize their lyrics to address these problems. Despite claims that drill music is associated with violence, it's critical to acknowledge the socioeconomic factors that contribute to the tragedy. These horrific deaths have a wider impact on the genre's public perception. They urge their local communities to be resilient and hopeful, and they call for an end to violence. The setting where it is presented, despite the fact that Chicago drill music culture is still very much alive and thriving and has a significant influence on the music industry, systemic injustice, opportunity gaps, and poverty must be addressed if true change is to be made. Thank you for viewing, and please feel free to look at more cards. Val, FBG Duck, Lil Jeff King, and Lil Jojo are just a few of the musicians who continue to thrill audiences worldwide, viewed on the screen.